Somewhere beneath the floors of Prince's Paisley Park estate in Minnesota, there was a vault that nobody could get into. Not his family, not his lawyers, not the bank that eventually took control of his estate. Not even Prince himself toward the end, because he had forgotten the combination years before he died and simply started using other rooms to store the overflow.
Jimmy, what is Paisley Park like inside?
First of all, there's not an inch of Paisley Park that doesn't have Prince's involvement. He was involved with every nook and cranny of that place.
When he passed in April 2016 with no will, no spouse, no children, and no instructions for what to do with any of it, that vault became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in music history. What was behind that door? The answer turned out to be almost impossible to comprehend. To understand why the vault existed, you have to understand how Prince worked, and the short version is that he was not operating on the same terms as any other artist alive. He did not write songs when inspiration struck and then take a break. Instead, he recorded at all hours of the day and night, every single day. People who worked alongside him described getting phone calls at 2 in the morning, asking them to come in and lay down a vocal, and the expectation was that they would show up. His former sound engineer Susan Rogers, who joined his team in 1983 when he was still preparing Purple Rain, said that by the time she left Paisley Park in 1987, just a few years into her tenure, the vault was already nearly full. Row after row of tapes, everything labeled and archived, all locked away. The man did not stop recording after that. He kept going for nearly 3 more decades. What made it even more extraordinary was that Prince played almost everything himself. He was a virtuoso on multiple instruments, and the recordings in the vault were largely solo efforts, every instrument tracked by him personally, every vocal line his own. His sister Tyka Nelson, who became one of the heirs to his estate after his death, described going through the archive as uncovering her brother's entire life, reel after reel of a man documenting himself in real time without any audience in mind. Some of what they found were complete, polished albums ready to release. Others were fragments, half a chorus, a piano riff that stops midway through, a vocal idea he had apparently not gotten back to. The archivists kept finding things that made them stop and just sit with what they were hearing. The vault itself was a proper bank vault, a Mosler American Century model, built into the basement of Paisley Park and accessible only by a combination that Prince kept entirely to himself. He had spoken about the music inside it on at least one public occasion, telling an interviewer in 2012 that one day someone would release it, and he was not sure he would be around to see that happen. The estimate his estate later put on the number of unreleased songs alone was around 8,000. To put that in perspective, if you started playing a new Prince song every single day from the moment he died, you would not run out until sometime in 2038, and that is just the music. There were also unreleased music videos, concert films, written archives, personal correspondence, and projects that had never been publicly acknowledged at all. When he died unexpectedly from an accidental fentanyl overdose on April 21, 2016, the combination to that vault died with him. His estate had no choice but to call in Dave MC Omi, a professional safecracker based in Oregon, who already knew the exact model from a photograph he had seen online. What followed was a methodical process that took several hours. MC Omi drilled a small, precise hole through the door, carefully positioning it to avoid triggering a spring-loaded security mechanism inside the vault called a mousetrap relocker, a device designed to permanently jam the bolts in place if the safe sensed tampering. Once he threaded a periscope through the hole, he could see the tumblers from inside and read the combination directly. The door opened. Nobody knew what they were about to find. What was inside staggered everyone who saw it. The vault measured roughly 20 feet by 40 feet, and there was almost no room to move because every wall was lined with industrial shelving units packed from floor to ceiling with tapes. Complete albums Prince had recorded and simply decided not to release. Live concert recordings spanning decades, studio sessions with artists nobody knew he had collaborated with, music videos that had never aired. Among the specific items that have leaked or been confirmed, an unreleased rock album from 1979 recorded with members of the time called The Rebels, a fully produced children's album he made with his then-wife Mate Garcia that was shelved after the death of their infant son, an untitled EP featuring Kim Basinger and Ozzy Osbourne, a 9-minute extended music video directed by Tim Burton, and dozens of complete albums with full track listings that had been prepared for release and then quietly pulled back for reasons nobody outside of Prince ever knew. One of the more quietly heartbreaking details was that by the time he died, Prince had not actually been inside the vault for years because he had forgotten the combination and the vault had sealed itself off from him. So he started filling adjacent rooms. The people managing his estate found music stacked in hallways and side rooms throughout Paisley Park, the overflow from a creative output that had simply kept going regardless of where it could be put. Troy Carter, the former Lady Gaga manager and Spotify executive who was brought in to oversee the archive, described walking into Paisley Park for the first time expecting to find a legend and instead finding an entire ecosystem of recorded human experience that had never been shared with anyone. Perhaps the single most striking discovery was a rehearsal tape from 1983, recorded a full year before Purple Rain, the album that made Prince a household name. On it, he is already operating at a level that most artists never reach in a lifetime, which raised the question of how much incredible music existed from every period of his career that the public simply never got to hear because he chose not to release it. His former musicians have said consistently that the material that did not make the cut was not bad. It was just music that he had moved past, work he had absorbed and grown beyond, and left behind the way other people leave behind old notebooks. The standard that did not clear Prince's bar for public release was still extraordinary. The estate has been working through the archive steadily since his death. A remastered Purple Rain in 2017 included 6 unreleased tracks from the era. The 1999 Super Deluxe reissue in 2019 added 11 unheard songs from the early 80s, alongside a full disc of live recordings. Welcome to America, a complete album Prince, recorded in 2010 and then shelved without explanation, was finally released in 2021, and it was fully finished, fully sequenced, fully realized, as if he had been planning to put it out all along and simply changed his mind at the last moment. A Diamonds and Pearls box set followed in 2023. As of now, archivists have digitized roughly 45% of what was in the vault, meaning the majority of it is still being processed. There are documentary filmmakers working with the footage. There are collaborations and performances that have never been described publicly. Prince told his sister 3 years before he died that everything he had preserved would eventually be heard by the world. He apparently meant it literally. The vault has since been relocated from Paisley Park to a climate-controlled facility run by Iron Mountain in Los Angeles, where a dedicated team of archivists listens to and catalogs what they find before proposing what to release next. Paisley Park itself is now a museum open to visitors, and in a detail that feels almost too cinematic, Prince's ashes were kept in an urn shaped like the building and displayed in the entrance for a period after his death, before being moved into the vault, the room he had spent the better part of 40 years filling. The man built something extraordinary inside those walls, kept most of it hidden deliberately, and then left it all behind with no instructions. Whether everything eventually comes out or whether some of it stays locked away forever is a question nobody can answer yet, but the fact that it exists at all, that one person created that much, at that quality, and chose to sit on most of it, says something about Prince that none of his released music fully captures on its own.